There's a way to approach ad creative that gives you an unfair advantage because it flips the script. It exploits the fact that creative is targeting and helps you work backwards to create the perfect ad for every single customer. And the trick is that instead of focusing on what you want to say, start with what your customers need to hear and who they need to hear it from. This approach has nothing to do with mindlessly testing more creative. It's all about strategic creative diversity. Because today, to reach and convert customers at scale on Meta, that is exactly what you need to master. So in this video, I'm going to show you a 4-part framework that we use to come up with an endless amounts of ads that scale. We call it the PASC framework, and it's how we break brands out of the creative rat race, that endless treadmill of recycled ideas and skyrocketing frequency, and into a place where they're producing creative that actually performs. So if your Meta ads performance has plateaued or your creative is fatiguing faster than ever, then our PASC framework is going to be incredibly helpful for you. It isn't a tactic or a hack, it's a methodical creative system that's built around 4 core levers. I'll tell you what they are and explain exactly how to use them in a second, but first, a little context. So in 2025, it's no surprise to you that creative is targeting. Meta does not rely on interests or lookalikes anymore. Meta's machine learning algorithms analyze your creative before deciding who each ad will resonate with best. And this is where the issue begins. So if all of your ads say the same thing to the same person in the same format, you're only going to reach and convert one customer persona. To scale, you need to reach and convert broad audiences, which usually include many customer personas. That's exactly why we came up with the PASC framework. It helps you use creative to systematically target specific customer personas. So it works backwards from your customer, from your ideal customer, and then helps you produce creative that will actually reach and convert them. I know this might sound a little vague, so let's explore exactly what that looks like in practice. Now for this example, we're going to use AG1 because everyone knows who AG1 is. So let's say we're selling AG1's greens powder. Here are 3 real people that you might want to reach. So person 1 is a 55-year-old man who's tired all the time, but he's never heard of greens powder before. Person 2 is a busy mom who's tried many health supplements before, but thinks they're all hype. And person 3 is a 30-year-old athlete who's on the fence and needs more convincing. Now, if all your ads are a 21-year-old woman in activewear saying AG1 gave me more energy, you're not speaking to any of these individuals, so it's pretty unlikely that your ads are going to reach or convert them. They need a specific message, one that speaks directly to their pain points, and more often than not, they need it delivered by a specific creator, perhaps someone that resembles them. So PASC helps you work backwards from what your customers need to hear and who they need to hear it from. And then it helps you build the perfect ad for that specific customer. And that's exactly what Meta's machine learning algorithms are rewarding today with creative being targeted. Okay, so now let me show you exactly how the PASC framework works. And the best way to do that is to just use it to come up with some ads. For the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to use AG1 again, and I'm going to use the 3 examples that I mentioned earlier. So there are 4 elements to the PASC framework. First is the persona. Who are you talking to? Second is the angle. What are you saying? Third is the stage. How are you saying it? I'll clarify this in a second. And fourth is the concept. How are you visualizing the message? Now, I know this might sound a little confusing at first, but bear with me. And by the end of the example, you will have a proven system to come up with winning ads that scale. No matter the brand, no matter the niche, no matter the industry, no matter your customer, it works for everyone. Okay, so step 1, the persona. Who are you talking to in the ad? Now, this always comes first. You need to figure out exactly who you're trying to reach in your ads. And your goal isn't to get it right. Your goal is to come up with a list of hypotheses based on research and then systematically test them through your ad creative. So let's assume you've done your market research and you've identified 3 distinct customer personas. As mentioned before, you now know exactly who you're trying to reach with your ads, so you might want your casting to reflect that. For example, if you're going after the 55-year-old man, you might want to cast talent that somewhat resembles him. Next, let's define our marketing angle. What are we going to say in the ad? So again, I'm going to use the 55-year-old man who's tired all the time, but he's never heard of greens powder before. And I like to phrase the marketing angles like, I want to X so I can Y and Z. So for this customer persona, that'd be something like, I want a supplement that gives my body the minerals it needs so I can finally get deep, restful sleep. Okay, perfect. So we now have the customer persona and marketing angle in place. Next up in the PASC framework is the stage. And the stage is just how familiar your audience is with the product. So I'm going to refer to this as awareness. Your audience's level of awareness will dictate how you communicate the angle to them. If you're unaware of the stages of awareness, I recommend reading Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz, but I'll explain it to you here so you can implement the framework without reading the entire book. These are the 3 stages of awareness that we use most, with a short explanation of each. Stage 1 is product aware. So in this stage, customers know that your brand and product exists. They know about you completely. Stage 2 is solution aware. In this stage, customers know of your product category, but they don't know about your brand specifically. And stage 3 is problem aware. In this stage, customers know of the problem that your product solves, but they don't know that your product is the solution. Okay, so let's make this practical and useful. How would the messaging change based on your audience's stage of awareness? The easiest way to explain is to just give you an example. So again, we're going to use the angle that we came up with earlier for AG1, targeting a 55-year-old male. That angle was, I want a supplement that gives my body the minerals it needs so I can finally get deep restful sleep. So now let's tailor the messaging for each stage of awareness. Firstly, we're going to do product aware. Let's assume this individual is product aware, so he already knows about our product. In that case, we could say something like, join over 100,000 happy customers getting a deeper, more restful sleep with AG1. You can immediately see that this type of messaging is more bottom of the funnel. We're assuming this individual knows what the product is, what it does, its features and benefits, and he just needs a little bit of social proof to get him over the line. You can also drop some offers in at this stage, 10% off, first order, discount, etc., etc. Next, let's do solution aware. So let's assume this individual is solution aware, so he knows about greens powder, but he doesn't know about AG1 specifically. You could say something like, not all greens powder is equal. Here's why AG1 is designed for deeper, more restful sleep. Now, if you've got some scientific studies done on your product, you would mention them in this stage. You would say 97% of people experience deeper, more restful sleep when taking AG1. So you can see that in this stage, in the solution aware stage, the individual knows about your product category, but they don't know about your product specifically. So your goal is to try and differentiate your product from the rest of the market. And as you can see, this messaging is slightly more middle of the funnel messaging. And lastly, problem aware. At this stage, your customers are aware of the problem, but they have no idea that your product is a solution to the problem. So you could say something like, can't sleep, you might be lacking one of these 5 crucial minerals. You can riff on this, but you can immediately see that this type of messaging is significantly more top of funnel than the previous 2 stages. Okay, so with these examples, you can see just how different the messaging can be based on your customer's stage of awareness, and you can see how you can manipulate the messaging to get your creative to go after top, middle, and bottom of the funnel audiences. And this is something that I see a lot of brands having an issue with right now. And some feedback that you'll hear if you go on Twitter, etc., is that Meta is only going after warm or bottom of the funnel audiences. And a lot of the times it has to do with their creative. Their messaging is only going to resonate with middle or bottom of the funnel audiences. If they want to change that, they need to use the stages of awareness and create ads that are more top of the funnel, that are more educational, that take people from 0 to 1. Okay, so we've done the first 3 stages of the PASC framework: the persona, the angle, and the stage of awareness. Now onto the final stage, which is the concept. And the concept is what most people think of when they think of ad creative, and it's simply the style of creative. So to give you a better idea, a few of the most commonly used concepts are UGC, customer reviews, founder stories, street interviews, podcast ads, static images, and so on. You get the point. There's an endless list of concepts to choose from. Essentially, it's just how you take the persona, angle, and stage and visualize it and turn it into an ad. That's what the concept is. Okay, so to make things simple for this exercise, I'm going to go with the founder story, and now you'll be able to see where the magic of the PASC framework really comes to life. So when you combine one of each, the persona, the angle, the stage, and the concept, you now have very clear constraints within which you can brainstorm creative. So to recap quickly, we're brainstorming ads to target a 55-year-old man who is having trouble sleeping, and he's never heard of greens powder before. Because he's never heard of the product before, we're going to go with the problem aware stage. So he's aware of the problem, but he has no idea that our product, our greens powder, is the solution to the problem. And we're visualizing this, we're bringing it to life with the founder story concept. Okay, so let's quickly come up with some ad ideas to bring these constraints to life and create the perfect ad to convert this individual. So for example, one of the ads that you might create would be the founder, a UGC video of the founder talking to the camera saying, I struggled with my sleep for years. I tried everything. Nothing worked until I fixed my body's mineral balance. In this example, you can see we're calling out the problem. We haven't mentioned a product. We haven't used social proof. We haven't compared it to anything. It's more of an educational style ad. If someone is struggling with sleep and they have no idea that it could be related to their body's mineral levels, this ad might speak to them. Now, example number 2, founder could say something like, about 5 years ago, I was really struggling with my sleep. I saw multiple sleep doctors, and finally on the 5th go, I went to one and he told me something that completely changed everything for me. Now, again, we have not mentioned a product. We haven't mentioned any social proof. All we've done is call out the problem in an interesting way that might capture this individual's attention, get him to watch the ad, and by the end of it, he'll be educated on why AG1 might help him to sleep. All right, so those are two very quick examples so you can see exactly how the PASC framework works when you put it into practice. It's not a magic trick. It's a method to systematically create diverse ads. Ads that look, feel, and sound dramatically different to one another so they actually reach new audiences or finally convert those audiences that have seen your ads dozens of times but taken zero action yet. Now, this framework is not going to give you the perfect ad, but it will make it incredibly easy for you to systematically test hundreds of different ideas, different personas, different angles, different stages, and different concepts. All of this should be based on research, and you should be targeting specific customer personas so your creative has a higher likelihood of working. So if you've been stuck in the creative rat race, testing tons of ads, getting absolutely nowhere, and you want to scale profitably without burning out your creative team or fatiguing your audience, then this is the shift you need to make from random creative volume to strategic creative diversity. Use this framework, persona, angle, stage, and concept, and watch how quickly your creative starts cutting through the noise. We use it every week with our clients, and the results speak for themselves. In a very difficult year, many clients are scaling significantly. So I've put together a little cheat sheet that we use internally to help you map out creative based on the PASC framework. I'm going to put a link in the description. Download it, use it, make it yours, and start building creative that actually scales.